Another old clip that I stuck up on LinkedIn before the LinkedIn main feed turned into LinkedIn lunatics, talking about how being chopped up on a meat grinder helps you with B2B sales. Was that was the good old days before that, when you could actually post artwork on it and have it seen. I posted this file, and it shows how you would begin to approach animating that typical Disney Bluth type hair, right? Because you get these very complex shapes. How do you control them, especially when you're doing the in-betweens? And this actually can apply too, even if you're doing it digitally. And I did actually clean this up. I think I hand drew this and then I vectored it in Flash, which is now called Animate CC, which you can get in the Adobe Creative Cloud if you want to suffer. So this is basically what we would do in the day. You would get the animator's drawings, or if you're the animator yourself, you would put little letters on different tufts of the hair, and it could be like temporary, it could be just between two that it's kind of hard to parse. The animator knows this line will turn into that line, so they put like a little A or B or C or whatever around each thing. So this is an extreme example, and if I go back, we can just see the colors. But now if you just go to all black, it's like, yeah, it just becomes one blob of hair. And I did this nice little flip here with this part where you see it's going whoop right there. Just so that it wasn't all flat, so I was doing something a bit more interesting. One thing I will flag about this, if I go to the production file, is one thing that this lacks is overlapping action. Like everything happens on the same frames, here to there. I just kept it simple, from here to there to here to there. Were I doing this in a way that I would really like, I would break this up and have some of these little corners land 2, 3, 4 frames later, so that they wouldn't all start and move at the same time.
I don't have a sponsor, so if you want to support my work and help it to continue, you can subscribe to my Patreon. I'm making new animation projects week by week and providing animation assets that can be downloaded and used. I also have a very large collection of tutorials in the LinkedIn Learning Library covering animation and design, and I'm putting all the links to these in the notes below.
So, we can add different styles of hair. These are slides from my drawing course in the Lynda/LinkedIn library. So you can see on the far left, like a 1960s TV style, and we can keep going all the way up until we end up with Pocahontas, right? Like there's no limit. The classic Disney approach, which would be my background from working for Bluth, would be to break things up, irregular spacing, and to avoid the letter M. This is like letters rather than graphical designs. We also use points of origin on the hair so that we can control where these shapes are coming from and going to. Using simple shapes, S curves and C curves. Try to avoid M curves. They're ugly. Occasionally they're a necessary evil, but I try to avoid them and keep the shape stronger. We reverse, going from a C to a reverse C, or an S to a reverse S, or from C to S to C reversed, and so on. And consistent but fluid, so we don't just have it like flapping all over the place for no rhyme or reason. Great example with this Einstein drawing of point of origin right up where his widow's peak would be. Because of this design, we can radiate everything from that, and that gives me control when I draw them at different angles. Same thing with different hairstyles. We can have more than one point of origin. Here's the hair that became the inspiration for the animation that I did. And again, breaking it up in a way that probably is extreme, but again, just to illustrate the process, how you think about the hair not as lots of little lines, but as areas that you can then mutate and play with. And you can have them blend into one another. They don't have to be discrete for the entire cycle of the animation. So it can, again, look at Glenn Keane's animation on Pocahontas' hair. Very, very fluid. And he had great fun with that, maybe too much fun with it. And here's where back to the original run of the frames that I did. So again, A, B, C, D, E, and F. And I think I might have had a couple of them blending into one another, or kind of, I think there's like that black one, comes out of nowhere and blends back into the D shape. And there you can see it there. Now all these little crosshairs, when I do a scene like this, I'll show you how I do that. This is something that we would do on paper and pencil as well, and I'll just replicate it here. I think I already have it done. You make a reference layer, and I'm going to go over that, and one layer for the whole run, and I'm going to pick like this line tool here, say pick the color red, and I'm on frame 1, right? So I'm going to plot this point here. Just put a dot down, that's it, 1. And I'm only going to go to the flags. These are the keys. I'm going to ignore the in-betweens for now, and that's number 7. The frame counter is here. Whatever software you're using, it'll have something similar. 11. And I think that's here, right? Yep, 19. Then we're on 25. And now we're back to number 1, because it's a cycle, right? So let's zoom out a bit. So let's see if I can find, probably I can find a mistake. So if I go through, I've already taken the liberty of in-betweening it, of course. So I'll go to this point here. Yeah, that's to there. The arcs could have been a bit rounder maybe, but they're all right. So I was worried going from here to here that they were looking kind of straight, but I can see that a very gentle curve. So we want these points, especially if they're eye-catching, to move in a way that's pleasing. And I think here it kind of pops to there a bit. So I think we might have a slight jump from here to here. These kind of things happen, but maybe a nicer curve on that line would have been maybe bringing it to there. To keep the arc a little smoother like that. But again, I don't think anyone will notice. I've plotted these kind of arc patterns on, say, Iron Giant and other Bluth movies. Secret of Nim, a beautifully made film. And you can find all kinds of little, oops, what happened there? And nobody notices. But anyway, that is the plot point. And what we were taught back in the day was to try to keep your plots like figure eights, so and that was the Bluth way, maybe a bit too ornate sometimes. If you plot different animators' arc paths, you'll see different arc habits. It's kind of interesting to see. You could go frame by frame on any animated film, bring it into like a other piece of software so you can just draw on it frame by frame, and it's remarkable. So some can be kind of simple, or some can be mind-boggling, like all of this kind of stuff. So let's see what I think I plotted in here. Did I? Yeah. So again, these are the different arc plots, and that's the one I just did in red. I actually did it in green originally. So not too far off. And again, they're all doing, here's like a set of figure eight. The olive colored one here, there's a yellowy brown, is figure eight. The blue one there is figure eight, a little loopy loop. So that's this basically what you try to achieve with these different points, and then the end result, if you've done it right, should look reasonably pleasing. And like I said, do this again, I would definitely not have the entire mass of hair just land on that final frame. You would actually, let me show you what I mean. I've just made an extra frame. Let's do that. So this tuft here, I think, is turning into that. Here to there to here. So let's move that to there. And keep it simple. Here's the simplest possible way of doing it. That's it. So now we have just that one little bit of overlap. Can we add more? Why, yes, we can. I'm going to do one more. And this time I'm just going to cushion it in a little bit. Okay. Now it'll offset by 4. Now it's feeling a little clunky. That I'm just doing it on the rough, but we can add a few more. So we can say take this point here and just give it like a slight one as well. Oh, I did it the wrong way around. Okay, so here to there. So on this one, just pull it up a little bit. Maybe this one as well. This one's gaining volume. That's one reason why it's kind of catching the eye. So I'm going to see if I can... Oh, it's starting to get really finicky now. I just want this to be a quick example. A little better. Oh, and there's a little bobble happening here. One. What happened there? One thing I can do here, when things have gotten weird, this happens, is this point here, I'm going to plot it. That's the point here. I want it to end there. And I wanted to cushion in a little softer. Something stupid happened here. I'm already going to do it myself. So let's cushion the point here and there. And lock that. Okay. A little bounce on that hair there. Let's leave that in for now. So you can see we're starting to add it. And if I really wanted to soften it, I would even put some of these on wands if I felt that they were feeling a little too harsh. But we have things coming to stops on different frames, which definitely breaks us out of the simplest style of TV type animation. So on this one here, I'll bring that one up just by 1. Actually, I'll have that stop on this one. Really subtle now. So you see how it begins to add up, right? Like as we begin to add these things, they start to like compile and improve one another. So the more I look at it, like the nicer it's starting to feel. And you can do that with more than one thing. Like also when we start as well, we can do it at the other side of this as well. So we could, have some of this hair be slower to move. Maybe that point there just comes down a bit, so it doesn't all get going at exactly the same time. At some of these high points here, we might change some of the... I'm not going to get into that because I'll be here all day. But I think that's enough to give you the idea. So we think about the hair in terms of blocks. Don't be afraid to make a note layer. that enables you to plot different points of the hair in motion. You see how I got myself into trouble here with this thing, and I immediately thought, oh, do I re-record? No, I show this is the kind of stupid thing that you can happen to you very easily when you start getting into overlapping action. So you make a diagnostic layer and you plot it, and you're like a doctor, you're like, something's gone wrong, got to find the symptom. I know it's in here anyway. It's one of these silly things. The more of these frames that you add on the slow in, I really only had like 2 points. Like everything has to come to a stop at some point. One part will come to a stop on here, another few here. I could even add a few more, right? Like I can just add another frame here and have something else stop at a slightly different speed. Usually 2 or 3 is enough to give the feeling of a more natural motion and really soften it. So that's where overlapping action and moving holds come in. And it's one of the kind of the top tier tricks that really good animators will use to, again, break away from puppet style animation. So when you see somebody who's done that, that's somebody who's really gone like the extra level to make that look really nice. And there's a thing that probably will blow up in my face. I'm going to save as before I do this because it's very buggy, but sometimes depending on the program you can make shape twins, and oh, it almost worked, look, and then they will allow you to then even soften the slow in, so now you got this digital thing. So I could probably mess around with that, maybe put some of these lines onto a different layer and tween them separately, and then I will be able to go in. You know what, so one thing that's fouling this shape tween could be some of these internal shapes here. So I'm going to get rid of that, put it to here, get rid of that and put it to there. Oh yeah, look at the difference that made. So I found working with these tweens, different programs, Harmony is much better, very, very strong with handling this. So I'm going to put that other line there on that shape tween. Now I won't go the full hog with this, but just enough to give you the idea of how you can use shape tweening and other tools to maybe take some of the scary tweening away from you. So this line here, Control X, and I'm going to put on this layer and Control C, Control X, put it there, shape tween, hide them. So the simpler the shape is, the better a chance I have of making that tween happen. So is it worth doing this? Well, if it's saving me from having to do all these hand-drawn in-betweens for this last batch, yes, it absolutely is. So this is where I'm able to use the digital tools with a hand-drawn approach to kind of get the best of both worlds. And that's kind of what you really want to do. So here, well, that's really nice. So now if I have these, they're all tweening. So it's at a point where you could almost let it go because we're working, maybe on the screen it'll be that big. Nice little cushion at the end now. A few little flickers, but I think we can fix them. So let's hide these. And there's still like a little defect there with that point. Let's clean that geometry up. And there too, that could easily be fouling it. So let's save this. If you are working in Animate CC, Control-Shift-H on the first troublemaker. And it should, there we go. A very clunky tool this, and very prone to crashing, which is why I just saved the file. So it creates A's and B's. Harmony does the same thing. Ah, look, it's locked it. That's great. So it can be very hit or miss, this tool, but that has already gotten me so close that I would, under a crunch, let that go. But I think I'd like to try one up here. Control-Shift-H, and there too. Now the C. So you put the letters where they should go. See this little corner here? Let's see if we can lock that one down. There's no rhyme or reason to, oh, it made two D and E. There's no rhyme or reason to this thing sometimes. Sometimes it just goes wild. So anyway, oh, that's really nice. Okay, so now let's bring these back. And I can just add, now I can add, if I really want to make it soft. Oh, look at that soft hair, lovely. We can also slow in. So this is where I use this easing tool here. Shape tweening, at least on this version, doesn't have the nice Bezier handles. It has a much cruder ease in and ease out, but 80 will give you like a reasonable ease in, and that way I don't have to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hairs. And some of the transitions here you might be able to get away with similar shape tweens. I would be tempted to add another one here maybe. Before I do that, I'm just going to save. So again, we just need to replicate the thing I took off, layer per layer, Control-C, Control-X. That goes here. On this one, this line here. And if you look in outline mode too, it's a nice way of being able to split everything up. So you can make the hair like a different color, something disgusting. Here we go. And you know, whatever works for you, your eyesight or whatever. And there we go. Let's make this right click, shape tween. Are you being nice? It is being nice. So now I can also pad this a little bit too, and I don't have to worry about having to redraw anything. Oh, that's fantastic. Now there's a couple of little white flickers there. Ah, that's a shape tween glitch. So let's see if I can put a hint there. It's sticking. Oh, torture, this program sometimes. I think I just want F to there, and remove those hints. Remove that hint. So F from here to here. There we go. Let's lock that down. Okay, and now back to here, and I think that little white flicker should go. There's still a little pop there. So one thing I might try actually is lift this off. This has turned into like a Flash chat, but let's see if we can make it work. There we go, this layer here. If I can get that to work from there to there. This is another shape hint job. I think shape hint is, yeah, modify shape, add shape hint. So if you're wondering where that thing comes from, well, there we go. That sort of smoothed it. Now that's going to be moving, strobing a little bit. Let's see what that looks like, because I have no idea what that's going to look like. Actually, it's fine. And that softens that ugly transition of that little tuft of hair. So again, we have an object here that is mostly hand-drawn, and I think I may have some of the hand-drawn reference here, and I think, yep, those are my original hand-drawn frames there too, which I then just lined in Flash/Adobe Animate CC. Now we're starting to see like the nice overlapping action that helps it have a little tiny moving hold there right at the end with all these little tufts coming to stops at different times. Yeah, there's no end to it, you see, like I could keep doing this all day, just adding more of that. But it's definitely helping it to break out of that very basic first hair animation. So it's the kind of thing that you'd want to add to your reel. Like if you're sending out a reel, you have a scene like this. Is it worth adding this? It's certainly worth, like, if it's going to take you as little time as it took me, this kind of thing is the kind of thing that you should be adding to any hair or secondary clothing that you have, just to like offset some of the settling of the costumes, long hair, scarves, anything like that, because it does separate your work from work that doesn't have this, because it's fiddly, right? And it's kind of thing that people tend to ignore. It shows you're not lazy from that point of view. It gets you maybe ahead of the crowd a little bit. Great. So I'm really happy with that actually. So I'm going to save that now. And again, I'll put these files up in the notes below. If you're watching this on YouTube, if I put this on YouTube, you have to join the Patreon to get the files. So no, I'm very, very pleased with this, the way that turned out. Again, all the principles will apply if you're working in Harmony, if you're working in any hand-drawn program that has some sort of tweening. Even After Effects has some pretty interesting tweening stuff. So you could do this kind of work to some degree, depending on the style, also in After Effects. And I know there's other software I don't keep up with. So it's going to apply no matter what style you're working in, but more so if you're working in this kind of style where things get really elaborate. That's when you want to have like that kind of nice flowing kind of Pocahontas kind of hair effect. But it's not willy-nilly shapes. They're incoherent areas. They're like a liquid. The strands can blend so that the green and the purple can become one and then break apart again into three or who knows what. It's down to how you animate it and whether or not it works. Don't be afraid to assign temporary diagnostic layers to keep track of the different forms so you don't get lost in the weeds. And that's the original animation there without the overlap. And here it is with the overlap. I like that better. Anyway, hope that was useful. We covered like a whole bunch of stuff there. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.